Welcome to an episode of the Myrrh-Bearing Millennial Podcast. I'm your host, Jill, and as a full-time homemaker, homesteader, and homeschooling stay-at-home mom, I'm on a mission to help moms find joy and fulfillment in their marriage, motherhood, and business, all while growing deeper in their Christian faith. Each week, we'll discuss relevant topics that I pray will help you strengthen your marriage, gain confidence as a mom, grow a profit to support your family from home, and bring you closer to Christ. As someone who endured childhood trauma, abusive relationships, and has learned the hard way that feminism has been harming women and weakening the family unit more than it's been doing good, I'm here to share with you what's possible, to show you the power that God intended for women, and to help you harness the beauty, grace, and entrepreneurial mind that is the Proverbs 31 woman we all strive to be. So let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Myrrh-Bearing Millennial Podcast. It has been a month since I've been able to talk with you guys, and it's been a wild month. If you're watching the video on YouTube, you'll notice that I have some tea in my hand. It is throat coat with some honey, and that's part of the reason I've been gone for a month. Here's the thing. I got pneumonia for the third time since September. I'm not kidding. The first time I got pneumonia was whenever my brother was in ICU in September, and then he passed away, and then I got it again right around Christmas, New Year's, and then I just got it for the third time. So that's part of what I'm talking to you guys today about in today's episode. But the pneumonia destroyed my vocal cords, and I couldn't have physically done a podcast episode even if I wanted to, because I had no voice for 3.5 weeks, and this is as good as it's gotten. It's still very scratchy. I'm still not singing in church, and I need a lot of throat coat tea to kind of help get through this, and we're batching podcast episodes today, so I'm getting through 3 episodes today and praying that my voice holds on to the last one, and this is just kind of how it is right now. So this last month has been a little insane. Some big changes have happened in my life and our family, and ultimately I'm praying that they are for the better. I mean, that's the goal. But I wanted to share them with you guys in hopes that they can provide some inspiration if some of you guys might be going through similar situations, and also tell you what's happening for the next year of my life. I'm a little nervous, but I'm also very excited about this. Okay, so like I said, I got pneumonia for the third time, and it hit my vocal cords, and it was terrible. Like, since September, my whole family has been chronically sick, but I've just been so sick since September. And it really started last year in May, whenever I had Josie on Mother's Day. I gave birth to Josie. But then, like, before I gave birth to her, honestly, even through the pregnancy, because I had fallen and I had a bruised hip bone and all these things happened during the pregnancy. Then I gave birth to her, which was amazing and wonderful. July, I had emergency surgery to get my gallbladder out. But then in September, my brother was in his motorcycle accident, and we lost him about a week after the accident happened. And so since May of last year, it has just been so much stress on my body from giving birth, and then, being postpartum, and then emergency gallbladder surgery. And on top of all the gallbladder attacks I was having, and my liver increased in size and all these things, and then my brother dying. A lot happened in a short amount of time. I mean, that was May, June, July, August, September, 4 months. So much happened. My body just went under all the stress, and I got pneumonia the week that my brother was in the ICU. And then my family has been chronically sick since. And it wasn't, we didn't have like easy sicknesses either. It was pneumonia, COVID, RSV, flu type A, flu type B, stomach, like neurovirus. Like, it was the hard ones that hit you for a week to 2 weeks at a time, back to back to back, from September until 3 weeks ago. And it's been insane. And I knew, like, it was a hard winter, and I've talked to so many people. So many have gone through really hard sick seasons and stuff. But, like, I knew that the grief and everything that had been happening in our family was directly related to this, that, like, our bodies just weren't healing. Plus, it was winter. We couldn't get outside, and it was a harsh winter. We live just an hour north of Pittsburgh, and it was a harsh winter. Like, the entire month of January, there was snow on the ground every single day, and it was bitter cold. And we haven't had a winter like that in a long time. Even whenever we lived in South Carolina, we'd call home to family, and it had been mild winters for the last 5 or so years.
And this was the first like real winter that Pennsylvania's had, honestly, since I was probably in college, is the last time I remember one being so cold for so long. And and keep in mind I'm 30, so it's been a while. Um, we, we kind of just had like the odds stacked against us on fully recovering, right? But then 3 weeks ago, I get pneumonia for the third time, and I'm the only one who got sick. The only one in my family who got sick. No one else did. And when I tell you, it wrecked me. My husband took, I think, 2 or 3 days off of work because I physically couldn't get out of bed. My lungs hurt worse than they ever had. And like I've had COVID a couple times now over the past few years. Um, and then pneumonia now 3 times. Like this was the worst my chest has ever felt. It's the first time I ever contemplated going to the hospital because there were times like I was actually coughing up little like mucus bits of blood. Sorry, it's gross, but like that's what was happening. And it was because my throat was so raw from coughing and it just destroyed my vocal cords. And I ended up having to go on an inhaler and stuff. Like, this was probably the worst sickness I've ever had in my life. And I went to my doctor and he's like, Jill, something has to change. Yes, it was a hard winter. Um, we didn't get much sunshine, like our immune systems, but like so much stress had been on my body since the last year that my body just could not recover. And he's like, something has to change. You have to give up some stuff so your body can finally rest and heal. And thus entered into a phase of some very difficult decisions that my husband and I had to make on things we would be letting go and kind of making sure we were fully centered on the priorities for our family. And the priorities for our family are one, our faith. That is first and foremost the most important value in our family is our faith, that we are deeply connected within our church and that we're raising our children within our faith and to know and love Jesus and have just this deep belief and that we can strengthen our own prayer life and our faith in Him. And that is the first and foremost, most important value to us. So, church is so vitally important to our family, and our prayer life is so vitally important. Like, that needs to come first. Second is being able to homeschool and homestead. Um, but how can we do that where it's also letting my body heal? Because for the last year, I've also been the director of Classical Conversations, our local CC group, and we have to be there every single Tuesday. And as the director, there's a lot of behind the scenes work that I have to do to help grow the group um, and make sure that it's functioning and so forth. And so there's been a lot, like on top of dealing with death and sickness, having this really hard commitment every single week was a big conversation we had to have. And so, how can we reformat our homeschooling routine to fit the healing that our family needs to go through and my body needs? And so, we had to discuss that. But homeschooling is another hard priority for us that comes, was one of the first values in our family. And so, we needed to figure out how to redo our homeschooling routine so that way it fit. And that's the cool thing about homeschooling, right? You make it fit your family, not the other way around. Um, so that's what we had to reevaluate. And then we needed to look at what was on my plate. So the business is a priority for us because ultimately it's my business that's getting us out of debt the absolute fastest, and that will allow us to continue to pursue the dreams that we have for our family and the financial freedom and our homesteading goals and all the things is my business is going to allow to do that, and that is allowing us to do that. So that also has to be a top priority, but how can we make the business be able to also allow me the time to heal? Because when you're a content creator, when you're doing the kind of work that I do, that's one of the main reasons behind why people do this is the time freedom. Like you get to live life while also making money and impacting people. And we needed to figure out, okay, we knew God wants us on this path, right? He has a plan for the message that I'm trying to deliver with my business and what I'm trying to grow. But how can we do that so my body has the time to heal and so I'm not not wasting. So I'm not spending so much time and energy while trying to balance so many other different things in life. So ultimately, it came down to a few different decisions that we had to make. One was very shocking for us, and then the other was something that's been a long time coming, but finally just did it. But it was the hardest decision I had to make. So the first decision that we made, which wasn't even really like necessarily like we knew it was coming. I run social media for a few different people in the background, and like I help grow their social media accounts, but I am their social media manager, so I create all their content and meet with them and so forth. And my contracts were ending at the end of May. And we've decided to fully just let those contracts end. I'm not renegotiating. I'm not bringing them back up, nothing like that. Like we're just letting those end. So I'm finishing out my time with those contracts and stepping away from making content for other people. And so that's the shift we're making in the business. I will not be spending time making content for other people, but I will be teaching people how to make content. More podcast interviews, more YouTube videos, more content creation on my end from my platform. But ultimately, it's to teach other people how to do it. And so I'm coming from a more type of passive way, a more virtual online learning rather than so hands-on in other people's businesses. Like I still do one-on-ones and the coaching and stuff, and I'm hands-on in that way where I will personally help you, but I'm not going to create all of your content for you because that takes so much time. Like I'm, creating 3 pieces of content a day for myself, plus a podcast video and YouTube video, plus doing the exact same thing for other clients. Like I'm doing all of that work on top of everything else. So I'm letting go of that piece and focusing on the teaching side of the business, which is arguably what I'm a little more excited about too. I think that more people should learn how to do this on their own because it will resonate more with your audience. It doesn't resonate as much when you have someone else creating your content for your brand because they don't know you. One of my contents, my midwives, and I love them so dearly, but I'm not a midwife. I don't have all the knowledge, all the information like they do. And so any content that they create, there's so much more passion behind and more devotion to and more knowledge because it's their brand, it's their work, it's what they do. Same thing like with my content. Like obviously there's much more passion and love and devotion and knowledge in me teaching you content creation and talking about homemaking and homeschooling. And that's because that's what I do, right? It's so much harder for that type of energy to resonate when someone who's not in your realm of work is creating your content for you. So I'm stepping away from creating content for others and teaching them how to create content instead. So that was the first one. That one wasn't, we just decided to let the contracts just kind of, we're done. I'm not negotiating them again. The next one that was a shocker to us involved CC, Classical Conversations. We love CC very much. We've loved our first year with it. Gemma has thrived. She's made some wonderful friends and stuff. But ultimately, we've decided to step away from CC for at least the next year. I don't know if we'll be returning. Um, First and foremost, I needed to step away as director. So I'm finishing out. We only have 3 weeks left. So I'm finishing out this year, but I will not be returning next year. A dear friend of mine will be taking over as director for next year. And we won't be returning as a student anymore into CC either. We're switching our curriculum entirely to a curriculum called Memoria Press. It again is a Christian classical education for homeschooling, and it aligns with all of our values with CC. And I'm going to do a podcast episode about this where I dive so much more into this, but there's been a couple of things with CC that I've learned over the past year that as much as I love it, I know I don't want it to be our primary curriculum. Memoria Press is also, it's not an Orthodox curriculum, but it's an Orthodox publishing company. And there's a lot of Orthodox families that use it. And so it aligns more closely with our faith to do that curriculum. With CC, I also have to supplement a lot. I use Christian Light Open and Go kindergarten workbooks and stuff to supplement a lot of the workbook type handwriting and alphabet and math and everything that Gemma needs because CC doesn't do that, not in foundations. And it's all singing and memory work and stuff. And with Memoria Press, I won't have to supplement anything. So there's a few big key differences as to why we're switching curriculums, but ultimately we made the decision to step away from CC, and that was not a decision I saw coming. I thought at a minimum we would at least stay in CC and use it as like a co-op, but we're not doing that either. And the reason why is I am saying no to strict extracurriculars that are outside church. Church doesn't count. Um, Anything that like I have to go to on a certain day at a certain time all the time, I'm saying no to because of what happened this past year. Going through the death of my brother and the sickness and everything, our schedule has had to be so flexible. And whenever we have something so strict like that, it's really hard to maintain that. And I'm really trying to heal over the next year. So we're stepping away from very strict stuff. Gemma's not doing gymnastics. She's doing dance, but that's different. That's in the evenings. RJ can take her on Monday nights, and that's only like 6 weeks at a time because it goes through a cycle. It's not every single, like we get a break in between. Um, and she doesn't have to return if she doesn't want to. We are also continuing to do our Wild and Free co-op. We love that co-op so much. But we don't have to go if we can't. We don't have to commit to it if we just can't. It's very we just show up at parks and do play dates and field trips and stuff, but like we don't have to go if it's just not in our energy to be able to go that week. So it's not as like rigid as a CC schedule is. So we'll continue Wild and Free. And of course, we'll do like play dates and all those things as well, like we've been doing. I'm not doing anything that's a very rigid, consistent schedule like that for the next just a year. We might get back into doing stuff like that, especially as the kids get older and they want to do sports, but we need a year to like heal fully. And there's some big life changes coming in our life in the next year as well. I can't really talk about them yet. But some big life changes that we know are coming that we really kind of need that year as well to be mentally and physically present for that because it's going to require a lot of mental and physical energy from us. Can't talk about those yet, but that's coming. And as soon as I can talk about it, I will. So stepping away from CC is another decision. And then the biggest change that has now happened that was the hardest decision that I had to make. It was something we kind of knew in the back of our heads might happen at some point in our life. Um, we didn't expect it to happen this soon. We thought things were getting a little bit better, but it didn't. Um, I have cut off my entire side of the family, just to put it bluntly. Um, and I don't want to get into too many details here. I might do a podcast episode on it, but it's something I'm still working through. Um, but base If you've been following me for a while, you probably know I was raised with a lot of childhood trauma in an abusive home with alcoholics and drug addicts. My mom was a drug addict for most of my life, and my entire family is pretty much filled with alcoholics, including my mom. And things get really hard around death. The first time was when my grandma died in 2017, and I actually had to get a protection from abuse order against my mom. And I only asked the judge for a year, but things were so bad, he actually granted a 3-year PFA. And I ended up not having a relationship with her for 5 years. And we just reconnected 2 years ago. And things were getting better. She had been clean. They were still drinking, but she'd been clean and I could navigate boundaries. And at the time, we were still living in South Carolina. And when we moved home, my husband and I were just navigating boundaries, being close. And it's been touch and go for a while. And then my brother died in September, and that shook my family to the core. Um, and things didn't get better. There was a big blow up around Christmas, and just a lot happened. And this past week, at the time of recording this podcast, a lot happened in my family that was not okay. And it finally got to the point where my husband and I had to make a very hard decision to protect the future of our children. And we've decided to cut off my entire side of the family. We no longer have contact with them. We don't have relationships. It's just that was done. And that was the hardest decision that I've had to make. The last time I made that decision to cut off, it was just my mom last time, but the last time I made that decision, I didn't have kids yet. And the difference is now is I have kids, and my kids were affected, not just by my mom this time. It was almost every member of my side of the family. And we've decided for the safety of our kids that we needed to do this completely. Again, some big life changes coming in the year, and we need to be able to be mentally present for that. And do making this decision ended up being a necessity with some stuff that had happened this past week. And I'm navigating that. I'm back and forth deciding if I need to go back to therapy. Probably everyone does, but um, it's it's a really difficult thing to try and navigate. But ultimately, I know I made the right decision. I'm at peace because I know my family is protected, and this will ultimately help with the healing of our family too, and the healing of my body, as we don't have to be victim to the manipulation and the abuse anymore. And I know that my children are protected and that they will never know what I know with my family. They'll never experience any of that. Um, and so it's been a very difficult thing to navigate. Um, but it was a decision that was needed to be made and is done. And we're just kind of moving forward with that. So big changes in the last month, and some of those changes came just in the last week or two. So it's been a lot. Cut off some pretty big things in our life to really make some changes for the upcoming year. And this kind of moves into what I'm calling the next year. And I'm going to make some social media posts about this and talk about this because I feel like more people need to do it. But it was really sweet. When I first announced that I was canceling a lot of stuff in our life, like leaving CC and all these different things, I had someone message me and it was so sweet. And all she said was, "Welcome to the Turtle Club." And I fell in love with that. I absolutely fell in love with that term. I told my husband about it and he loved it too. He actually, for my birthday, got me a card with a turtle on it. And he was like, "I hope your Turtle Club year is the best one yet." It was super sweet. And I've fallen in love with this idea of Turtle Club. Like I get to go into my shell and heal and just completely re just completely write a new chapter in this upcoming year for our family. And I'm so excited for that. But this is so different. I've never taken this big of a step back. Our primary commitments over the next year are church. We will be at church, and I'm running social media for the church. That is one thing that I will do. Church is priority. Homeschooling, but focusing at home. We're not doing any rigid homeschooling. We are very type B uh, with Memoria Press and incorporating some Charlotte Mason stuff, and I'll talk about that in a later episode. But homeschooling at home, and then just focusing on the teaching within the business. So being more present virtually with teaching. And so I'm taking a lot of steps back from other commitments, which is kind of a big thing because I'm used to being like involved in so many different things, and that's not the case for the next year. That's a big change. I've never just said no before, so I'm learning to get comfortable with the word no if it doesn't serve our family in this next year. And I'm really owning the Turtle Club. I'm loving that term. And so this next year is my Turtle Club year. So if you hear me mentioning Turtle Club, that's what this is. And I hope that you guys enjoy it too. If you're feeling like you're in that kind of transition as well, where you really need to take a step back, give yourself permission to rest. Give yourself permission to do that so you can be more present with your family, grow in your faith. Let yourself join Turtle Club, go into your shell. It's okay. It's good. Nothing bad's going to happen. In fact, it's all good. It's a really good season of rest. And I'm very excited for this. So as I go through the next year, I'll be documenting what Turtle Club is like and different things that I learn and experience and stuff. I really just hope to encourage other women. I feel like so many of us who were born in the 80s and 90s were were born into the beginning of the hustle culture of like strive for every single ambition you have and just go after everything, which is good, but like it burns you out. And also, you don't have to. You don't have to. You can be present with your family, and that can be enough. That should be enough. Um, I've learned that my success does not lie in my career. My success lies in my children and the happiness and the sanctity of our family and deepening a love for Christ in my children. That's where my success comes from. And so we need to say yes to rest and no to everything else. Join Turtle Club. If you're feeling this pull, come join Turtle Club with me. It'll be fun. I'm not really doing like a group or anything like that, but like let's just talk about it in DMs and have fun with it over the next year. And because ultimately, like, no commitments, right? We're not joining it. Just talk about it. Like, I'll just talk about it in my stories, and we'll just have fun conversations and talk about how we're resting and the new hobbies we're learning and the ways we get to be present with our family. And that'll be Turtle Club. And I'm very much looking forward to a season of slowdown, of rest, and of ultimate healing, because we would like to have more babies, but my body needs to heal in a lot of different ways. And we have some goals for our family that requires me being a little more present with the business and so forth. And so I need to say no to everything else that is not serving us in this current season of life. And I'm preparing us for this next chapter. And I really just feel like God has been like, all right, here's the door. I'm going to open it. Get ready. That's what this has felt like. And so that's what's going on. That's what's happened this last month. A little recap and entering Turtle Club. And so I'm excited, but I'm also excited to announce that the interviews for the podcast are coming back. That's one of the things I'm actually batching today is I have an interview with a friend today, and I've got 4 more interviews lined up throughout the month of April. So I will have interview podcasts throughout April and May, and I'm working on getting them through the next months of the year. And I'm so excited because they range from financial conversations to birth conversations to homeschooling and homesteading and all different things. And so I'm so excited for all of these interviews and to see where the podcast goes and to see how the podcast serves you guys and brings you information that you're wanting and education. And I hope that you guys just love it. So, I hope that the podcast is really serving you. So I'm excited that that's finally coming. We've got better internet and the interviews are finally starting again. Those are what I love. I mean, you guys know me. I like talking, so the solo episodes are fine, but like I love the interviews because I love talking to so many unique individuals and learning from them. And I can't wait for you to learn from them too. So the interviews are coming and I'm so excited. Okay. That is all for today's episode. I did want to announce that I did an official price change of the digital homemaker guide, the guide that will teach homemakers how to make an income from becoming content creators online. So make sure to grab that guide in the show notes. That way you can get started on your own content creation journey and learn how to make money from home so you can be present with your family more. And if you're interested in one-on-one personalized coaching, I've got that too. It's a 6-week program, completely personalized to you to take your online business to the next level or to even just get you started. So those links are in the show notes below. If you're not already, please subscribe and share the podcast so that way we can connect with other moms. And make sure you subscribe over to my YouTube channel and then follow me on Instagram. And I'm back on TikTok. I took the plunge. I have been avoiding TikTok since the election, basically. And I'm back. I'm back on TikTok. So go over to TikTok. We'll have some fun over there too. Thanks guys so much for listening into this week's episode. And I look forward to seeing you next week on my interview with my friend Taylor, as we talk about all things finances, debt payoff, generational wealth, marriage and money, and all those types of things. So thanks guys for tuning in, and we'll chat again soon. God bless.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you loved what you heard today, please give the show a rating, share it to your Instagram, and be sure to tag me. This will help the show reach more moms just like you. If you're curious about any of my resources, be sure to click the link in the show notes and feel free to email me at jillhughes@myrrhbearingmillennial.com. That's all for now, and we'll chat again soon. God bless.